China's plan for Earth 2. So, have you ever seen a headline that just stops you in your tracks? It sounded like it was ripped straight out of a sci-fi script. China is hatching a plan to find Earth 2, a plan for another Earth, and they're hatching it. Well, as you can probably guess, the internet had a few thoughts on that, and just like that, what was supposed to be a science mission became, well, a global Rorschach test. This one comment from Reddit user really just nails the vibe. The reaction felt almost programmed. It wasn't really about a new telescope anymore, was it? No, it immediately turned into this huge flashpoint for geopolitics, for suspicion, and for a big debate about how we even talk about science when it comes from somewhere else. And this right here, this slide gets to the absolute heart of it. People online immediately jumped on the loaded language. I mean, think about that phrase, hatching a plan. It just sounds sneaky, right? Like something a super villain does in the secret layer. And as one user put it perfectly, we take bold initiatives, they hatch plans. It's a textbook example of how a few words can frame the entire story before you even know the facts. So yeah, the reactions were just all over the place. On the one hand, you had people genuinely worried, you know, the geopolitical fear kicking in. What if they find a new world and don't tell anyone? On the other hand, you had the science nerds like me just totally thrilled. More data is always good for humanity, right? And then because it's the internet, you got the whole shebang, the political finding, the whataboutism, and of course the memes. So many jokes about space communism. Alright, so we've seen the reaction, the online chaos, but let's try to peel back all that noise for a minute. Let's push past the whole hatching a plan thing and ask, what's really going on here? Is this some kind of evil plot, or is it, just science? Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts. Let's forget the headlines for a minute and talk about the actual mission. It's called the Earth Telescope, or ET for short. So what is this thing and what's it actually supposed to do? First thing first, what are we even looking for? When scientists say Earth 2, they are not talking about just any old rock floating in space. No, this is the big one, the Holy Grail. We're talking about a planet that's roughly our size in that perfect Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold around a star like our sun. It's the sweet spot where you could have liquid water. And where there's liquid water, well, that's where things get really interesting. And this is the machine built to find it. This is the Earth Telescope. And get this, it's not just one telescope, it's actually 7 of them all bundled together on one spacecraft. It's basically a custom-built observatory designed to tackle one of the biggest, most profound questions we've ever asked. Are we alone out here? So, how's it going to work? Well, it's got this really clever two-prong attack. 6 of the telescopes are planet hunters. They stare at a whole bunch of stars and wait for a tiny, tiny dip in the light. That's the telltale sign a planet just passed in front. That's forecasting a wide net. But the seventh telescope it does something totally different, something called microlensing. It looks for the way a planet's gravity literally bends the light from a star far behind it. This trick is amazing for spotting those big cold planets and even the super cool rogue planets that don't even have a star to orbit. And to give you a sense of just how powerful this thing is, the lead scientist on the project said it's going to be 10 to 15 times more powerful than NASA's legendary Kepler telescope. And remember, Kepler is an icon. It found thousands of exoplanets. So we're not talking about a small step up here. This is a giant leap. And this here, it just shows you the insane level of precision we're talking about. The telescope software has to take this massive raw starlight and basically put the puzzle back together into a crystal clear image. It's that process that lets them see a change in brightness so small from a planet hundreds of light years away. It's just mind-boggling, really. Okay, so the science is awesome, we get it. But let's zoom back out for a second because a mission like this doesn't just happen in a vacuum. To really get why it's causing such a stir, we've got to look at the bigger picture, the whole geopolitical scene. See, the Earth telescope isn't some one-off thing. The Planetary Society reported that in 2024, China rolled out its first ever comprehensive long-term strategy for space science. Think of it like a roadmap. It's a super organized plan, a lot like the big decal surveys NASA uses to figure out what to do for the next 10 years. This shows they are not just experimenting anymore, they are seriously planning for the long haul. And the numbers really tell the story here. I mean, just look at this. In the 2000s, China launched just 3 space science missions, 3. Then, in the 2010s, that number jumped to 13. Now, in the 2020s, they are on the pace for at least 12, 22. That's not just growth, that's an explosion. Now, here's where the story gets really stark. You've got China laying out plans for more than 30 new missions by 2050. At the same time, a recent White House budget proposal for NASA suggested canceling more than 40 missions, 40, including some major flagship programs. I mean, you can't get two trend lines going in more opposite directions. So what's the big takeaway? Well, it's not just about who has more telescopes. The Planetary Society made a really sharp point about this. It's about leadership, it's about perception. If scientists around the globe start thinking, hey, if I have a big ambitious idea, China is the place to go, that's a fundamental shift. And once that perception changes, it's incredibly hard to win it back. So let's put it all together. You've got the fiery online reaction, you've got the amazing hard science, and you've got this huge shift in the global space race. The big question is, what does all this add up to? What does it mean for the future of exploring space? Let's just come back to the science for a second because honestly it is incredible. This mission is about so much more than finding one Earth tool. It's about taking a complete inventory of our cosmic neighborhood, finding those weird rogue planets, looking for moons orbiting other worlds, even studying asteroids right here at home. This is data that will benefit absolutely everyone, no matter what country you are from. And all of this brings us to one final really big thought about this whole new chapter of space exploration we seem to be entering. Look, finding another Earth isn't science fiction anymore. It's not a question of if we find one, it's a question of when and who. So, as incredible missions like this one push us further out into the galaxy, we have to ask ourselves a pretty fundamental question. Is this great search going to be another race, another competition between flags on a map, or could it be something that actually brings us all together? A quest for all of humanity to figure out our place in the cosmos.